At Set to Love, we offer strategies and ideas on how you can stay out of crazy town. See, your human experience is meant to be lived with meaning, purpose, and creativity. You are here to contribute through your essence. We are best friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and above all, find our flow in assisting you to find yours. We come together weekday mornings to bring you ideas to fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on. Take what works and ditch the rest, and always stay set to love. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go.
Good morning, Set to Love community. Good morning to my best friend, Eva.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm excited about this topic today. How are you?
Good. Well, I was going to jokingly say, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
How many times have you heard, you'll ask someone, how are you doing? Oh, I'm just fine. A situation, is everything okay? Yes, I'm fine. But what about from fine to flow? That's what we're going to talk about this morning. So let's get started. We only have a few minutes. So
all right. Well, this idea came in, Shelly, because I was watching our show of Kelly from last Friday, and there was a part in it. And this is how I love how flow works and how these synchronicities come up in our lives. And this is a great example for the viewers out there. So I'm watching this, and it gets to this part like a third of the way in, and she starts talking about how she had gone through like having some eating disorders, but she was fine, and she was fine, and I'm fine. And her best friend said to her, "You're not fine," and had her take this personal development growth 60-day mindfulness course or whatever, something. And a couple days in, she realized, oh my gosh, I'm not fine. And it got me thinking, how often do we just say to ourselves, there's like two kinds of I'm fines that I envision. One being like, you really are just sort of stagnant. You're fine. Like it really is just fine. It's not good, bad. It's just blah, right? Stagnant.
Yeah.
And then there's the other kind of fine where it's a fear of doing anything different. Like you're fine, like your marriage is falling apart, but you're fine. Or you just got that email and you're all riled up, but you're fine. And it's like that kind of fine where you don't want to face or have to move because you're scared. It's like what's on the other side of fine, and you just don't know. And that feels really scary and kind of insecure. So those were the thoughts that first came into my head, and I had to call you and say, oh my gosh, Shelly, we need to do something from fine to flow. There's some kind of message here that we need to be delivering. And what was so funny, I want you to tell the viewers, as I'm like rattling off ideas, I get ideas a lot. So she just like probably pushed pause, was like, here's another one,
Okay, but I wish that I had that picture. I'm going to see if I can find it
Oh, you sent it to me.
I'm going to look at my phone.
It's so funny though when these little synchronicities come up, because then I started thinking like, okay, we can really help people. We can get them from being fine, because we all know what fine feels like. So how can we move past those? Okay, so show the picture.
We were chatting, and in this chat,
I'm going to make you big so that way people can see it better.
Okay, so as we were chatting and we're talking about fine and flow and whatever, I had been watching a movie, and so I paused it, and look what the movie said. It said the show was Heartland, and I love hearts. It's in our Set to Love.
Yep.
And then it says, yes, all of it is fine.
Hold it up. Go. Come closer. Yes, all of it. Fine. That's what that says.
Crazy?
Right.
And so when we saw that, we're like, oh my gosh, maybe this is something we're supposed to talk about.
Yes.
From fine, and to flow. But isn't that just, who could have planned that right at that very moment? That's a synchronicity right there.
That is a synchronicity, because here I am giving all these ideas, and it was like the universe was like, yes, Eva, all of it, fine. And then there's the word fine, which I just love. Okay, so this brings us to the next point, which is how do we move from just being fine to flow. And so the last couple days, I'm in Toastmasters and we have the speech competition once a year. And I thought, okay, I got to write a speech, and I never know what I'm going to write about. And I just walk around a lot and ask the universe, like, what message? So this find to flow message came in, and then I thought, okay, well, let's construct a speech around it. And this is what came up for me. And I want to share some of these things with you guys today. So 1/3 of Americans are dissatisfied with their lives. That's 100 million people who would say that they're dissatisfied. So they're going to get to the end of their life and look back and say, life was just fine. Like, we don't want that, right? You and I truly believe. Yes, no regrets. And Bonnie Ware, she's an author, and she worked in hospice care at the end of people's lives, the last couple months of when they were going to be alive. And she gathered up years of regrets that people would tell her on their deathbeds. And one of the number one regrets is that people were not they wish they had the courage to be themselves and be true to themselves instead of what other people expected of them. And so that's the first kind of regret that I want people to not have, is how do you go from not having that regret to like really living a life that is true to you? And one of the things we talk a lot about, Shelly, is like pursuing joy. When you can just pursue what makes you happy, whether it's from the clothes you wear or how your home is decorated or the activities that you're doing or what you're bringing into your mind. It's like when you're really doing things that make you happy instead of focusing on things that you don't want to be doing. What I told him is I said 51% of your day needs to be in joy, pursuing something that brings you joy. 49% can be fine. But 51% needs to be not fine. Better than fine.
Fantastic. I don't think people should settle for fine. I mean, let's think of another word, because fine is just blah.
Yeah, it's
you know what I'm saying? I'm just fine. Mm-hmm. You're not happy. You're not sad. That's almost like so stagnant, so non-feeling.
Right.
And I just feel.
That was the second point, Shelly, is that people wish they had the courage to express their feelings. And how often do we not do that? You don't want to get to the end and say, wow, I wish I would have told so-and-so how I felt about them, or I wish I would have worked out that thing with that person in my life, or whatever, right? But like, how often do we not express how we feel? And living in flow is all about expressing how you feel in a loving, positive way.
I have to say, I do live with some regret. And that's not a good thing. My dad passed away before it's a long story, but I didn't have the opportunity for us to feel settled. We loved each other and all of that, but there was still some, he just wasn't a communicator. So there was an opportunity to really make it right. And thank goodness before he passed, I was there. I got to tell him I love him. But I still have regrets that, I have done something else to make him.
Okay. So then what have you done to like come to peace with that? Because you're someone who does practice living in flow. And so if there's someone out there who has that feelings that they wish they would have expressed, and now that time has passed. So we're saying be cognizant of relationships in the future, but now with something in the past that you can't change, how have you come to peace with that? Like, what have you been able to do, or what techniques?
I really did some soul searching, and I know I did the best I could with the situation. I love my dad so fully, and I know he loved me too. But I just feel like everything has when it's no longer in my control. You can't make another person love you. You can't make them talk to you. You can't make them do whatever it is. And I just think that the saddest part is, and I hope people will hear this, is you like that call about my dad being sick. It was in an instant. I mean, He was gone within a day. And so I didn't have time. He wasn't really even coherent completely. I know he knew I was there, but what I hope people do is don't wait for that and try to keep. I think if I had it to do over again, I probably would have made more attempts to just keep nudging him instead of worrying about how he felt about it and not wanting to bother him, and that I missed him. I wish that I would have communicated that better or more often, even if he wasn't responding.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you have to do what makes you feel better. And I know I wasn't being stubborn. I wasn't, you know, I had a part in it, but at the same time, it was just miscommunication.
Well, you know what, Shelley, and that goes to the third point, which the third, well, there's 5 regrets, but the third regret is, or the one that pops out to me, was that people they wish they would have let themselves be happier. And so it's like at this point in your life, you can choose to dwell on it and focus on it and be sad that you didn't do this or didn't do that, but that doesn't serve you. And that's only going to end up being another regret.
Well, and what I do, the other thing that I do is I focus on all the good years and all the great things that he was to me as my dad and always will be, you know? And I know, you know, this even with your own family and situations that, you know, we only get to live this life one time. So now when I think of my dad, I think of the great things about him. He was so handy. He was a great builder. He was so loving. I remember pillow fights as a kid. I mean, there's wonderful things that I remember, and that's what I'm focusing on.
Yeah. And that allows you just to free yourself from it, from it being this lens of just hurt and trauma and sadness and regrets and, you know, and not that it wasn't those things for you in moments, but now you can just put on a new lens, and you can do that at any point. Like at any point in your life, you can look at something in the past and reframe it. And I think that's one way that you move from fine to flow, is when the things that you can't change in your life, the circumstances that you cannot change, you just need to put a new lens on and look at it through something different. And sometimes that's hard to do, but focusing on the good, focusing on what you did learn, focusing on how it helps, how it helped you grow, how it helped to bring you to where you are today. And
it also helped me that when one of my kids had a situation where they weren't speaking with a family member, and I was like, you know what? Don't let time go by. You don't know how much time you have. It's such a waste, you know, make it right. Make that phone call. And, you know, now, and of course she did. And I just think that sometimes something happens like that so that you can also help someone else not be in the same boat that you were. And how good that feels to see that, wow, they did get that chance. You know, it didn't take somebody passing away or something negative happening. So life is, I want so much more than fine. I want flow.
Me too. And the other 2 regrets that popped up that people need to consider, keep in mind, is that people wish they didn't work so hard. So for us, I think about like the work that we do, and most of the work that I do, I would say for sure 90 to 95% of the work I do, I love. Within that space, there's always going to be things that maybe I don't love as much, or I'm like, oh, I got to do that one thing. But for the most part, I really do love what I do. And so it doesn't even feel like work. And I think I wish more people could get to that place, you know, to where you really do connect with what you are doing in this life. And that's why I wrote the book, because I really feel like if more of us could get to that place, we wouldn't end up with that regret at the end of feeling like you worked too hard, because you feel like you work too hard. And especially when you work too hard at something you don't even really care that much about. And like at the end of the day, what do you have to show for it? Lost time with people you love. Because the 5th one is they wish they would have spent more time with family and friends. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can really relate on that, because I love my job. I really do. I always have. It's been 28 years and I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I'm tired at the end of the day, but what I really love, and I would encourage people to do too, is, you know, I have my granddaughter Harper, and, you know, I make less money to be able to babysit her 2 days a week, you know, but that it's not even a question of whether. I'm so happy. I find so much joy and flow and being a part of Harper's life like that. It's not like you're giving up money. It's, you know what I'm saying? And so to bring joy, sometimes you do have to give up some of, you know, maybe a day of work to do something that you enjoy. And maybe I have a little bit less of one thing or another, but I'm so enriched by my granddaughter, having that precious time that she's going to know me.
It's priceless. It really is priceless because you're never going to get that time back. And in a blink, I mean, you've raised 2 girls. It goes by so fast.
And family and close friends and time spent, I think that's when you're the richest. Yeah. It really is. When you have that, because I also had a time in my life where I thought that I was going to pass away. And I remember thinking all I wanted was to be with people that I loved. And thank God I'm still here, and that didn't happen. But the truth was, when I thought about everything, all I wanted was to be with, people that I loved, and was so grateful for the family that I had. So,
because that's really what matters at the end of the day, right? Where you spend your time, your time is the most valuable commodity that there is. And everyone knows it. Social media knows it. And your soul knows it. So the more time that we can put into really connecting with ourselves and who we are and how we can best serve in the world using that, and at the same time, really connecting with the people that we love and having meaningful moments with them, whatever you're doing, I mean, that's at the end of the day, what more could you want? And that's how we move from fine to flow. When your relationships aren't healthy, we need to look at them. When your career isn't healthy, you need to look at it. Don't just be fine with it, because it can be so much better. And don't be afraid to move to the other side of fine. And I think that's really hard for a lot of us, because we get so comfortable being fine, and it can be so much better.
Well, I have a favor to ask of you. I hope you're not going to be mad at me for saying this, putting you on the spot. Do you think we could come back tomorrow? And I'd love to hear your speech, and I bet you everybody else would love to hear it too.
I mean, I kind of just gave it. I feel like I said everything that I said in the speech. You probably wouldn't be hearing anything more different.
You're just I just love
friend,
all your stuff. You're just, you light up when you're in that atmosphere of
just feel it so deeply. I truly just believe in humans, and I believe in our possibility and what it is that we can do and create. And I just think we can do things so much better. And there's people who are so much smarter than me out there who can fix systems. They just have to believe in themselves and then go do it. And so that's what I hope that we're able to do, is get people to really take a hard look at their lives and then figure out what they need to do so they can move from fine to flow. So we can heal one another and heal ourselves.
Yes. And balance, that's what I'm saying. I took 2 days out of my week from work and changed those things to have more joy and more flow, and not just be fine with having a day-to-day job. And you know what? People, believe it or not, I think people love when people are flourishing like that. People are so happy to not be able to come on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or Wednesdays and Thursdays, because they know what I'm doing. They know I'm with Harper, and they're happy for you. So I think give people more of a credit, to really,
and everything works out.
Ruffle the feathers.
That's the moral, right? On the other side of some change, things can still work out perfectly, even better than you had imagined.
Yes, and ruffle the feathers. Look, find, keep searching and find. Don't be afraid to see what else is out there, because you're just cheating yourself. And all the people, because we're all amazing humans.
Every single person.
Right? We are.
I believe it. I totally believe it. Okay, friend. I love you so much. Thank you for another great day. Here you go, everyone. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can email us at settolovepodcast@gmail.com. And we're at www.settolove.com. We'll be back.
Hit the bell.